Good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Cheryl, and today I'm joined by my friends from across the pond, Mary Spender and Sam Gibbs, and they're going to talk us through microphone selection and placement for podcasting and mobile recording. But before we get into that, just a few items of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing sometime within a week or so, and you'll be able to find it at shure.com/training. All of our past archived webinars are there as well. We've got a lot of great webinars across a lot of different topics, so please feel free to go there and peruse all the great learning opportunities we have. Once again, that's shure.com/training. Second of all, as we go through today's webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the question pane in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you don't see that question pane, look for a dark gray toolbar that has an orange box with a white arrow in it. Click on that, and that should maximize the question pane for you. Feel free to ask any questions that may pop into your head as we go along, but be aware that we will hold on questions until the very end of the session. So type in those questions, be patient, and we will get to as many of them as we can at the end of the session. All right, that wraps up all the boring stuff. Now let's get into the interesting stuff. Take it away, ladies.
Hi there. Thanks for joining us today for the microphone selection and placement for podcasting and mobile recording. My name is Sam Gibbs. I'm the Shure Audio Institute Specialist and Regional Representative for EMEA.
And I am Mary Spender, and I'm the Social Media and Content Specialist for Shure UK. So we will start with the objectives. At the end of this training, you should be able to select the right microphone for a podcast or mobile recording, use recording techniques to help you get the best out of your chosen microphone. And then we'll also talk about other tools you might need to help you create high quality audio content. So what are we talking about when we talk about podcasts? They are a digital audio recording that can be downloaded from the internet to a portable media player, most commonly listened to on phones nowadays. They are often made up of, but not restricted to, discussions that cover a wide range of subjects. And they're just basically like a traditional radio show, but they can be consumed at any time. And at the moment, there is an outrageous amount of active shows of 550,000 and 18.5 million episodes.
That is an incredible number.
That's a lot to catch up on, isn't it?
A lot of content there.
And obviously, new shows are starting all the time, popularity is growing, and episodes are being uploaded, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of times a day. So it's a great format of content. So why should you start a podcast? More than 30% of US citizens listen to podcasts. 44% of the US population has actually listened to a podcast. So they might not be regular listeners, but they do know of the form of content. And podcasts can work for almost every industry and subject. So it doesn't matter what you want to talk about, almost niche is better. And it's a very relevant and current form of marketing and promotion through storytelling, education, or entertainment. It is also sometimes referred to as passive content in comparison to video content that you have to listen to and watch. Obviously, when it's just audio, it can be enjoyed whilst doing other things. People can listen at home whilst doing the dishes.
Which I have done on many occasions.
Me too. Whilst traveling, or even at work, if you're not doing anything too strenuous, that you can actually consume something else. Obviously, if you're on a serious webinar, you can't be listening to a podcast right now.
No,
but
let's hope not.
So what are we talking about when we mention mobile recording? So this does incorporate podcasts because it's a way of capturing audio on the move without a professional studio. So either with your smartphone or DSLR. It also includes vlogs and mojo, or also called as mobile journalism. And you could also record live music performances or acoustic sessions, yourself playing, or concerts that you've been to. So, it's just very, very portable and easy to record. There are several factors to consider. So this is getting a little bit technical. You have to worry about the connector type. So whether it's USB-B, which is standard USB, USB-C, which has been introduced recently, or XLR, which we'll gloss over a bit more later. the smartphone operating system, so either iOS or Android, then operating principle, so don't be confused with the same use of operating. This actually talks about dynamic versus condenser, which are two different types of microphones. And then within that, there are polar patterns, which get very physicsy, but this is basically a polar pattern of a microphone is a sensitivity to sound relative to the direction or angle from which the sound arrives, or put it simply, it's how well the microphone hears sound from different directions. So the most common types of directionality are omnidirectional, cardioid, and supercardioid, but there are definitely a few more. So we will now talk about microphone choice for podcasting specifically, and we'll start off with USB microphones. So depending on your laptop or computer, the type of USB will vary. So USB-B is the larger USB that we are more familiar with. Most of our chargers are this type, but Mac or Apple did introduce USB-C most recently, and other companies are obviously adopting it. So the new iMac computers and laptops do require adapters for the larger USB, but it's a lot faster, and you know, it's how things are going to they're going to move forward that way. So there are benefits to USB microphones. They're plug in and play. They are powered by your device, so they're very portable. You don't need too many extra things. And yeah, a USB microphone is the simplest way for you to record high quality audio on your computer. They provide a single plug in and play solution to get you up and running almost immediately. There's no need to purchase any additional devices or accessories, as they are usually included in the box of whichever microphone you choose, the USB cable, and they usually have an integrated audio interface handle, and that handles all the connectivity in a single housing. The quality can vary, obviously, depending from model to model, different brands, but also price range. So ranging from very cheap and thin sounding to high quality models with very, very impressive professional results. And we will speak about some of our MOTIV range that provide those results, really. And they can be used either with your smartphone or via a USB cable. So then, while a good USB microphone, a good quality USB microphone, can yield great sounding results for podcast audio, some users will find that the all-in-one connectivity is rather restrictive. So by opting to purchase the audio interface and microphone separately, you'll exchange convenience for greater creative control. And this is obviously getting slightly more professional and less affordable. But instead of limiting yourself to just a handful of USB microphones on the market, you can now select and operate any microphone with a standard XLR connection. So if your audio interface allows for more than one XLR input, then you'll also have the option of recording two microphones simultaneously, two individual tracks in your DAW, your digital audio workstation. Perfect for interviews or podcast shows with more than one host. Now, this is a bit more difficult for USB. You have to create an aggregate device. And so if you only have two USB connections in your laptop, you are pretty much limited to two microphones, and you still have to go into all the settings and sort that out. So it's a bit more tricky, but it is possible, and there are plenty of tutorials online. But the great thing about being able to select from any standard XLR microphone is the ability to match the right mic to your individual voice. The fact is, each microphone has its own individual sonic signature, some of which will be better suited to your voice than others. So for example, if you have a nasally sounding voice, it makes sense to select a microphone that doesn't emphasize that quality. And also, if you think your voice sounds a little thin, some microphones with a warm, extended low frequency response can help you get that radio friendly voice that you're used to hearing and may want to emulate. So the difference between dynamic and condenser microphones, it's quite important to understand because they do offer different things. Dynamic microphones have relatively simple construction and are therefore more sort of economical and rugged. They can provide excellent sound quality and good specifications in all areas of microphone performance. In particular, they can handle extremely high sound levels. It is almost impossible to overload a dynamic microphone. And in addition, dynamic microphones are relatively unaffected by extremes of temperature or humidity. So obviously the SM58 is pretty much the most indestructible microphone out there. We're very proud of it.
Yes, yes, we are.
That's why it's lasted so long, and it's still yeah, a brilliant microphone. So simply, dynamics are more directional and usually richer and warmer sounding. But for those looking to add a little more realism to their voice, the alternative condenser microphone type offers a brighter, airier sound that can work better with certain voice types depending on preference and also situation, which we'll talk about a bit later. Condenser microphones are more complex than dynamics and tend to be somewhat more costly, but not in all cases, as we will discuss later too. They may be adversely affected by extremes of temperature and humidity. However, condensers can readily be made with higher sensitivity and can provide a smoother, more natural sounding sound, particularly at high frequencies. They have a flat frequency response and extended frequency range, which it's just a lot easier to obtain that in a condenser. And they can be made very small without significant loss of performance too, and we'll discuss that in the MOTIV range. So I did mention it earlier, the SM58. It's legendary.
Legendary SM58.
I know, it just looks so good still. It's a cardioid microphone, so we'll talk about polar patterns, but it's basically tailored to deliver warm and clear vocal reproduction. And it's very, very affordable. If you do have an interface, you can then use this microphone. And Tim Ferriss, for a very long time, who is one of the most successful podcasters out there and still uploads very, very regularly, he was using an SM58 for a very, very long time. And he said, and this is a quote from his website, "For my money, nothing beats these old school stage mics for in-person podcasting. You could throw them against a wall and they'd probably be fine." Actually,
you can do that. Yes,
they are fine. They last for years in live environments. So back to his quote: "Some people use mic stands to hold them, but I do not. I prefer to let guests hold them, as they're less likely to lean away. Sound levels are therefore more consistent, requiring less fuss in post-production." So we will also discuss that, because microphone technique is very, very important to get the best out of whatever you choose. So talking about what we've chosen today, we'll start off with the SM7B, which is a dynamic microphone, very, very famous and widely adopted, around the world with podcasts particularly. But it was used by Michael Jackson for his vocals on Thriller, which was very exciting. And this is what I'm using today. So I hope you are enjoying the sound that I'm getting from my SM7B.
Oh, yes, I am. Thank
Good.
you, Mary.
So this is very famously used, and we've got an example here of Mark Maron talking to Barack Obama, which was an amazing episode. But they are just in Mark Maron's old garage, and that's what they're using.
I love this picture. I think it's so laid back and chilled, just sitting there with a cup of tea, having a chat.
Absolutely. Well, Mark Maron's tips, I think he said that you almost want people to forget that they're talking into a microphone.
Yeah, sure.
And I do feel like the SM7B is a very comforting microphone to talk into, because it's nice, big and bold, and people are very used to it now.
Yeah. So
maybe if there was something else that they were talking into, or I just think it's a stunning piece of tech. So technical aspects of it: it's got a flat, wide range frequency response for exceptionally clean and natural reproduction of both music and speech. It's got bass roll-off and mid-range emphasis. It's got a presence boost, which you can control on the back of the microphone, and improved rejection of electromagnetic hum, optimized for shielding against broadband interference emitted by computer monitors. So it is the perfect microphone to use in an environment that's not treated. And obviously, if you are podcasting, you might have your laptop there with notes on, or you want to keep an eye on what's being recorded. So this is very, very important. And this is really only something you get with dynamics. Condensers can be a little bit more sensitive. But it has an internal air suspension shock isolation, which virtually eliminates mechanical noise transmission. And it's got a highly effective pop filter too, which eliminates need for any add-on protection against explosive breath sounds, even for close-up vocals or narration. And actually, I did have a producer tell me how it had changed his life with metal vocals.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
because they can get so up close and personal and do their best when it comes to metal music. So,
Excellent.
yeah, so there's another application. So if you are podcaster by day, metal musician by night,
This is the microphone for you.
it's all in one. It has a detachable windscreen. So yeah, as I sort of mentioned, it's designed to reduce plosive sounds and gives a warmer tone for close talk vocals. And yeah, it's got a classic cardioid polar pattern, uniform with frequency and symmetrical about axis. Getting very technical here, and it's very rugged construction, as most of our Shure products are. Excellent cartridge protection for outstanding reliability. So that radio voice you're looking for, this is the microphone for you. It was originally designed for broadcast applications and is perfect for high quality speech. So it's a fantastic microphone. However, something a little bit more recent, the KSM8, it's another dynamic microphone, and this is what Sam is using.
This is what I'm using today. Yes.
So get up close and personal with that.
I am up close and personal with this KSM8.
We might be at slightly different levels, so don't be shocked by that. We just put the focus on the SM7B for today.
I just talk a little bit quieter than Mary does normally.
So this has exceptional control of proximity effect, which vastly increases working distance without on-axis coloration. So if you would be so kind to give a demonstration, whilst Sam will keep her mouth focused around the actual microphone, so she's not facing away, but she will be moving around it, so you can sort of hear how it sounds off axis.
Yeah, so as Mary said, I'm actually talking dead on to the microphone now, but if I move my head and around to the side and carry on talking and then come back to the middle and go round to the other side, you should be able to notice that there isn't any kind of drop off on the audio on that, and you should still be able to hear me very clearly.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Good.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by this because I use it as a vocalist, but I haven't ever thought of using it as a podcasting microphone.
It's a great microphone.
Yeah, but yeah. Tim Ferriss, who I quoted earlier talking about the SM58, has upgraded to the KSM8, but pretty much because of that reason. For guests, it's a lot easier to control.
Of course.
Because they could be talking, they could be getting carried away. So yeah, it's great technology. So the off-axis attenuation is flat and broad, resulting in superior quality of rejection of unwanted sound sources for increased vocal clarity. So you can actually hold this mic too. It has very little handling noise. The dual dyne technology protects and stabilizes the active diaphragm from unwanted excursion or rocking during plosives or impact, providing substantial protection against high-frequency handling noise. So it's also dent resistant, and it's got a hardened carbon steel grille design lined with hydrophobic woven fabric that provides exceptional plosive and wind protection whilst offering virtually waterproof protection too. So if you're a sweaty podcaster, that's very handy.
It is, I guess, a sweaty podcaster who overpronounces their S's and B's and P's, and this is the one for you.
Yeah, you're not.
Or if you're not, this may be the one for you.
Yeah. Yes, it is not limited to.
Of course, no.
But yes, I have actually seen a video of it being put under a tap running with water coming out of it onto the grill, and I know that many musicians who do, are in hot environments on stage, they do prefer it because of that reason. It's not going to break anytime soon.
That's important.
It's very important. You want to be able to rely on your equipment no matter the situation. So sort of crossing over into the more sensitive side. So this is a condenser microphone. This is the PGA-27. This isn't as portable, but it is quite affordable because it's from the PG Alta range. It's a large diaphragm cardioid side address condenser microphone designed for clear capture vocals, speech, acoustics, other recording applications and live performance. Its features include a high-pass filter and a switchable attenuator for SPL versatility. Condensers tend to be better suited for studios that are acoustically treated There are exceptions, of course. Condenser microphones also require phantom power, so you would need a mixer, an audio interface that has that. If it doesn't, then it just won't work. So that sort of finishes up our microphone choice in terms of podcasting. But now we will move on to mobile recording microphone choice. And obviously this isn't limited to mobile recording in that way. As I mentioned, this does include podcasting. So these are microphones that you could use out and about if you are doing sort of field recording or interviews, and this is all you have in your pocket. These can adapt to that sort of professional sounding level that you might need. I often use them as segments, so sort of interviews that are then I might record something on the SM7B and then use some of these things when that's all you have available. So microphones for iOS and Android devices. We'll go through the MOTIV range because these are complete game changers for anyone who wants to create high fidelity recordings on the go. They are plug in and play, very, very portable, very, very small sometimes. They are powered by your device, and they are a massive improvement on the internal microphone. So they are definitely worth a look. And this is the MV88. This is one of my favorite microphones. It really has changed the game in terms of content creation personally. It's very, very high quality. It records up to 24-bit and 48 kilohertz. It has, thanks to the app that it's paired with, so not on board the microphone itself, but it has 5 preset modes: speech, singing, acoustic, loud, and flat. It's only compatible with iOS devices though, so this is not compatible with Android, but it's got adjustable width, mid-side stereo, so it's also got a hinge, so it's very, very versatile. You can move it around. Say if you're filming from one angle, you can actually flip it around. It works both ways. It's just extremely versatile and perfect for stereo field recording with or without video. I use it for a number of things, for voiceovers, especially when I don't have much time and I just want to record something quickly, because you can share the sound files very, very easily, which I will get more into when I talk about the app specifically. But it's perfect for 2 people being interviewed. It's perfect for acoustic sessions. I have actually recorded an electric guitar with this because you can change the gain on the app. And it's just, it's an incredible, very, very affordable microphone that completely transforms your iOS device. So moving on to the other microphones in the MOTIV range, this is the MV5. This is a digital condenser microphone that records high quality audio and is supported by the ShurePlus MOTIV app too. They all are, to enable mixing on iOS platforms. This one actually can be used with Android too. It includes headphone monitoring, and it's only got 3 DSP presets to tweak gain, EQ, and compression. And it has a desktop stand too, so it's very, very handy. I do see this as a very amazing USB podcasting microphone too, but it's also great for Skype calls or Blue Jeans calls, which most of us in the office use it for.
We do, yeah. There are, there's a number of these, including on my desk. It's a fantastic little microphone.
Yeah, and I think it looks great too.
Yeah, it's very cool. Love that little design.
And now we are going to move on to its sort of bigger sister. I don't know if that's the way to put it, but this is the MV51, and this is what Cheryl's using.
Yes, it is. Hello, everybody. Sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself.
So can you get up close and personal with it, Cheryl?
Oh, yes, I can get very close and personals with it. Here I am speaking into my MV51 from lovely Chicago, our downtown office in the National Building, speaking on an MV51 large diaphragm condenser microphone.
You have a great radio voice.
Oh, I have a face for radio. That's what they tell me.
Oh, stop it. Now, I do use this for podcasting myself because I really like the detail it gives. It's very, very portable as well. They are quite chunky, but you just create an aggregate device if you want to have 2. And I'll show you a picture of me using one later. But this is iOS and USB connectivity, so it offers 2-in-1 value and quick setup without an audio interface. It's got a front touch panel, so you can control the DSP presets actually on the microphone, as well as a headphone volume. So you can touch that and make that louder, make that quieter. And yeah, an input too. It's a large diaphragm condenser capsule for full-bodied sound recording. It's a very well-made all-metal construction. It's really designed to stand up in demanding conditions. They are nice and weighty. They feel very high quality. Zero latency headphone output, iconic grille inspired by vintage Shure products, and Lightning and USB cables are provided too. And yeah, compatible with iOS, Android, Mac, and PC. And I just think it looks great too. I think it's a beautiful microphone. So something which is a little bit different, and this really does relate to mobile recording. I'm not sure you would use this necessarily for podcasts. Maybe if you were just taking the audio from a video and using this as an interview, so there are no barriers and you can sort of guarantee where you're going to capture the audio of your guest. You can put an MVL on them, and I do use this when I am vlogging. It is a omnidirectional condenser microphone, a very tiny one that connects to portable devices. So you can become very wireless with this. Although obviously it has a wire connecting to your phone through the headphone jack, you can just put your phone in your back pocket. You can set it recording, lock your screen, and you can change the gain as well. And so visually you can see whether or not you are too loud or too quiet. And I really use this in video making, and this is the most affordable microphone in what we've been talking about, especially in the MOTIV range. So the MOTIV MVL is a lavalier microphone that can be slipped directly onto your lapel with the supplied tie clip. Its portability makes it ideal for on-location digital recording of closed mic speech, including interviews, videography, and public speaking. And yeah, it's a fantastic little microphone. I love being so wireless. So the way to make all these microphones work is via the ShurePlus MOTIV mobile recording app. And this really is an amazing piece of software. It's compatible with all our MOTIV products, so the MV88, MV51, MV5, MVI, which I did talk about earlier as the interface, and MVL, which is what I just spoke about recently. It delivers the ability to trim and split tracks and add user-defined fades as well. So you can do a lot of editing just within the app. It offers real-time function adjustments that optimize settings for the sound source and environment. So you can, before you hit record, you can change the polar pattern. So the environment, it's very visual. You can see exactly how the microphone will work. You can put a limiter on it, you can put a compressor on it, you can change the settings, you can make it flat, or you know, if you're just trying to film a live performance or something, or record a live performance, you can just hit the PA a little icon on the right-hand side in the middle image, and that will lower the gain, and then you'll be ready to record a very loud noise. Basically, it's a fantastic microphone for that sort of loud environment, as well as close personal speech things like podcasts. So it allows file sharing via email, text, iTunes, AirDrop. AirDrop is how I use it, and Dropbox too. So it's an amazing piece of software. It is also free. So even if you don't have a MOTIV microphone, you can download this. And I really like the way that it layers out all the files. It's very nerdy of me, but
there's nothing wrong with nerdy.
I use it even if I only have the built-in microphone to hand. So it's a great way of storing your files, your audio files. Another piece of software that is also free, and our most recent release, is the ShurePlus MOTIV video app. And this again is compatible with all the MOTIV range, as I mentioned earlier. It's a very simple to use, intuitive interface. It enables users to record with uncompressed audio for video, which is very important to know that the other camera apps and video apps on your phone might it will just give you lower quality video and audio too. So this really opens up those capabilities. It has on-screen audio metering, and it's got a choice of video resolution. So obviously it's device dependent, but there are other apps that limit what your camera can actually do, and this can allow you to record in 4K, which is extraordinary coming from a phone. You can also choose the audio format that you want to record in. So you can have high quality WAVs or AAC or ALAC, and of course MP3 too. So it's, yeah, again, it's free. So you should go and just try it. I've got nothing to lose.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So when we are talking about mobile recording, I did mention DSLRs earlier. So I do want to add this in. This is part of the, well, there are two microphones in the lens hopper range that are suitable for DSLR recording. And that's the VP83 and the VP83F. So the VP83F, the main difference between the two is the F has integrated flash recording, so you can actually use it without anything. You can put a micro SD card in the body, put some batteries in, and you can record without the camera, without having to worry about the camera filming or anything. You can just record audio by itself. So it is a very, very handy portable recorder. It's very, very shotgun, so it's got a highly directional super cardioid low bar polar pattern. So this is very, very focused. You do have to be in the line of sight, but the lens hopper camera mount condenser microphone allows you to capture detailed audio with ease when video recording with the DSLR camera. It includes a windscreen, a 3-position audio gain switch, and switchable low cut filter. And one important thing to remember with these microphones, because you'll probably be out and about, you need a Rycote shock. Oh, sorry, this has a Rycote shock mount, but you will also need something that's got the very funny name of a dead cat.
I still don't believe you that it's called that.
It is very well known in the industry, isn't it,
Okay.
Cheryl?
Oh, yes, definitely. So much so that the tiny windjammer that we have as an accessory available for the MV88, it's a smaller version. I like to call that the dead hamster.
That's a very good name. So it's got a foam windscreen that protects against some wind noise, but obviously the dead cat is very useful, or the windjammer as they are known, made by Rycote. That they do make them specifically for the VP83 and VP83F and MV88. So when shooting outdoors, you don't want to impact the sound quality. You don't want your audio to be ruined by wind, so you do need one of those things. They are synthetic fur. They're not real fur.
Not real cats or hamsters.
No, no.
Like to point out.
Yes, disclaimer, they are not hamsters or cats. So it has a standard size shoe mount, so it does fit pretty much onto every camera. It's very, very universal. But yeah, as I mentioned, it can also be separate, which is really quite extraordinary from a relatively small microphone. It's so versatile, and I do use it. I do use it when I'm vlogging, which is it's quite heavy to handle, a DSLR on a little tripod and then that on top. But
worth it.
Very worth it.
Yeah.
The sound quality is so good, and just having that sort of sense of ease when you're hitting record on the VP83F. It doesn't record automatically. You do have to switch it on. But you can feed it into the camera body, so you can use the preamp in the camera, and you need to make sure that that is quite low so that you give the microphone some space. Otherwise, the camera might ruin the audio. So you have to trial and error your camera, whatever setting you're using. But yeah, I do use it, and it's done wonders for me. And I'll show you a little trick for voiceover video footage a bit later too, when I talk about my personal experiences.
Okay.
And all the mistakes I've made.
No.
So we will now talk about microphone placement. These are really general principles. There is a rule of thumb that you want the microphone to be as close to the sound source as possible, but that's not always possible. So you need to be very wary of it. You need to do a lot of trial and error and practice, and probably make a few mistakes too. But proximity is one of the main things we need to be concerned about when creating proper mic technique. Whichever microphone you choose, make sure to position it correctly for the best results. And in this diagram, you can see the critical distance is the distance at which the direct sound from speech and the ambient noise and reverberation are of equal intensity. Beyond that distance, the microphone no longer picks up enough of what we referred to have as speech level. So you definitely need to be wary of it. If you speak very close to a microphone, the lower frequencies will be enhanced. So you don't want to go too close to the microphone, otherwise it gets a bit boomy. But many broadcasters like to speak directly into the mic or have it just below their chin. You can really see a professional, especially with all the videos now online of people filming their podcasts. They are always very close. And yeah, some podcasts say placing the microphone about a finger's width away from your mouth is a good distance. The microphone should be slightly above your mouth maybe, or slightly off to the left or right, so you can talk past it instead of completely straight into the diaphragm, because you know, that could cause you some problems. But with some experimentation and trial and error, you can find the perfect mic placement. So do a lot of tests before you put yourself under any pressure, that is. So yeah, to get a clear and enhanced sound, get very close to the microphone. If you are too close to the microphone, things like excessive breathing, mouth noises, and pops can be very easily picked up. So that can be quite difficult to listen to if you have a whole interview where someone is just, I don't know how to say it, very breathy or something. It can be quite distracting. Yeah. But there is no hard and fast rule on proper proximity for your microphone. Really, you have to trust your ears and maybe use headphones. So yeah, take some time and listen to your recordings, use headphones, listen to your voice, and find the appropriate distance to have the microphone from your mouth. Okay, so as you can see here, this lovely lady is very close, but she's slightly above the microphone, the MV5. So the appropriate mic technique will vary depending on your voice and the microphone that you've selected. So yeah, this is you need to be aware of S sounds, T sounds, P's and B's, but that a little bit later. So just trust your ears. So I mentioned polar patterns. We will gloss over these a little bit. I will give you the sort of main principles, but this is the cardioid polar pattern, probably one of the most well-used polar patterns. It's a cardioid microphone, has the most sensitivity at the front and is least sensitive at the back. This isolates it from unwanted ambient sound and gives much more resistance to feedback than omnidirectional microphones. This makes a cardioid microphone particularly suitable for loud stages, hence the SM58 being used in live environments so often. Then moving on to the omnidirectional polar pattern. This has equal sensitivity at all angles. This means it picks up sound evenly from all directions. Therefore, the microphone need not be aimed in a certain direction, which is helpful, especially with lavalier microphones, but a disadvantage is that an omnidirectional microphone cannot be aimed away from an undesired source. So PA speakers might cause you some problems, or other surrounding noise. There's much less headroom for feedback. And then, so this is the bidirectional polar pattern, and this can be found on the MV88, which is very useful for interviewing people and just holding up your phone in between two voices, because it's a microphone with a figure-of-8 polar pattern that picks up the sound from in front of the microphone and from the rear, but not at the side. So microphones with this figure-of-8 polar pattern are typically ribbon or large diaphragm microphones, but also found in the MV88, which is has been very handy for me.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so if we are sat opposite each other now, if we just held up the MV88, you'd be able to hear both of us at the same level if we were obviously equidistant from the microphone.
Well, that's handy. It stops you having to then pass the one microphone backwards and forwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
But it doesn't pick up from either side.
No. Very good.
So we need to move swiftly on to other gear you might need for podcasting. So, stands and shock mounts. It's a good idea not to touch the mic unless you have a boom arm or shock mount. There can even be problems with desk stands picking up vibration and sound from your computer. You can eliminate some of these problems by putting some padding or even a mouse mat underneath your microphone stand. Or you could go all out and get a boom arm with a shock mount, or get a tripod somehow that sits on your desk. But I know that some people do handhold their microphones so that they make sure that their guests actually hold them near. But yeah, stands and shock mounts, you need to be careful about what microphone you're buying and whether or not it needs one. So then cables, you need to find good quality USB and XLR cables, depending on the microphone choice, obviously. And remember that length of cable is very important, so that you're not caught out when, trying to interview someone and not being able to get them close enough to the microphone.
Sure.
Which I have experienced. So
That can't have been good.
It wasn't good, but problem solved. That's all right.
Excellent.
You don't want anyone to feel confined
No,
to
of course.
space and stuff. So make sure you have long enough cables. So I did talk about laptops and portable recorders and interfaces earlier. You do need to be aware of this. Make sure that you have a very high-powered laptop and it's all updated and everything. There are some amazing portable recorders out there. There are some very affordable interfaces too, but just remind yourself that you might need phantom power if you're using a condenser. And then we mentioned dead cats earlier, so windjammers. You might need a pop filter, again, depending on the mic. You can never be too safe. You want to avoid plosives. These are the pops and puffs of air when you pronounce P's and B's. To avoid this, you can always use a good pop filter and position the mic more towards the side of your mouth. You can also, you want to avoid bumps and vibrations when you're speaking or when the microphone is on. So a good rule of thumb as well is that anyone who has their own mic should be wearing like headphones, so you can monitor the sound, so that you can adjust your voice and position for optimal recording. This can also apply to your guests. You can then hear exactly what they're doing, and you might have to give them instructions. It's very important to make them aware that they have to speak into the microphone. They can't be too far away. Otherwise, you might end up with a ruined interview, especially if you've only got one shot to get it. Other gear you might need is the software. So we spoke about the MOTIV app, but there are free programs for either your PC or Mac. So for PC, Audacity, which is what we are using today, or for Mac, you can use GarageBand. So there are more professional pieces of software, Logic 10, Ableton, Cubase, but really you want something that can normalize the audio, EQ it, and compress it. I don't mean lose anything in terms of compression. This is actually just a very good thing to do to level out the sound, and it gives it that finishing touch. So we'll just gloss over mixing and software. The amount of editing required for podcasting, in particular, when compared to mixing or mastering a song, is actually fairly minimal. If you've done your due diligence during the recording process, the amount of processing required to achieve a good result should be very, very small. So on a basic level, all you need to do is balance the volume of each individual presenter, if you do have more than one, plus any intro or outro sequence applicable to your show. On a more advanced level, basic processing effects such as compression and EQ, as I mentioned earlier, will help refine the end result by allowing you to just even out dynamics and cut or boost certain frequencies. But in all honesty, if your bass recording is solid, the amount of processing required should be minimal. So yeah, there are just many things to use out there. You can find what you prefer, different interfaces, user interfaces. But finally, one of the things that's not always available, and again, I've learned this the hard way, is just finding a quiet space. Maybe not an anechoic chamber.
Perhaps not that quiet.
That's pretty quiet.
It doesn't get much quieter, I don't think.
You don't really get those in people's houses or studios.
I haven't got one in mine.
No.
No.
We've got one at Niles HQ.
We do.
Which I went into and it terrified me. It was
Really?
so silent. But yeah, maybe we could get a podcast done in the anechoic chamber. Cheryl, what do you think?
We could try it, but I'm a little scared that people might actually hear my thoughts while I'm podcasting.
It is very, very quiet. You can feel your heartbeat and hear it. It's just so strange. So yeah, we move on to sort of challenges and personal experience. I won't go into too much detail because, it's all rather embarrassing, really.
No, it's not. I thought it would be nice while we've got you with us today and your experience as a content creator and the podcasting and mobile recording that you've done. If you could just talk us through some challenges that you face in your personal experiences and how you overcome them, what you do to face those challenges.
Well, I heard a great piece of advice recently that in terms of filming or recording, the one thing that you can guarantee is that something will go wrong. So you are always problem solving. So you should never be shocked by something not working. You just have to figure out a way to work around it. So I have had very, very noisy environments that you weren't expecting. I had a filming session, which was sort of kind of time limited. Luckily, we managed to get a second day. But on the first day, we were expecting it to be beautiful, calm, sunny weather in LA. And it just turned to be like England, really. It was rainy, cold, windy. I didn't have a dead cat to protect my MV88. So we got something relatively okay, but we really wanted it to be perfect. We wanted to, show off the tools the best of their abilities. So luckily we got a second day. But when it comes to interviewing other people, I've really learned to have the confidence to move them, like literally sometimes hold someone and just pull them into either frame or nearer the microphone. Or if they're too loud, just like on the slide, just change the gain, because otherwise they can, everything can peak and you get this sort of distorted audio. So I've really made every single mistake. But I've included some pictures of myself podcasting with my 425s in my in-ears and using the MV51 on the left-hand side of the slide. In the middle, I didn't have my dead cat with me for my VP83F, but I was recording outside. But luckily, it was a nice sunny day, so I was okay. And then I've come up with a trick recently for doing voiceovers. So if I'm filming something, but I want to talk through something, talk through what I'm seeing, you can turn the microphone the opposite way on the camera. Obviously, usually it would be pointing forward with the lens and shooting what the person's seeing, but it's quite a nice touch and it saves you a little bit of time if you want to do a voiceover on top of the camera footage. And I often record both. I record onto the SD card for high quality audio, and then I record onto the camera body so that I can sync it up later. But yeah, that's
a great tip. Thank you.
It's a bit of a uncommon one. If you were seen to do that in public, people would be like, "You've got your microphone the wrong way around." So,
until you tell them what you're doing.
Absolutely, and you prove the point of making excellent voiceover content. But yeah, so for technical training, you can visit your local Shure website for more information and content from the Shure Audio Institute. But thank you very, very much for listening. And thanks to Cheryl and Sam for helping me out today.
Great. Awesome. Lots of good information. We've got some questions now to run through. So we'll get through as many of these as we can in the next 10 minutes or so. First question. How can I get the best use of my Shure MV88 for an interview with 2 guests in a loud space? I tried this a while ago with little success, and the audio was actually not usable. Mary, do you have any tips for this person?
Yes. So you need to really think about the pattern. So you need to give it a wide spread so that it's not too focused on just one person, and really just sort of use the visual of, I'm sort of making a sign with my hand, a sort of triangle, and sort of where the sound will be picked up from. That's a shame that it happened, and I think you need to sort of trial and error it a bit, maybe get a friend involved and try and see how, but it should work. Use the app and trial and error it.
All right, great. Next question is actually one that I'm going to answer. This question is, can we expect to see a Shure USB dynamic microphone in the future? That's a really good question and an interesting thought. Unfortunately, we are a private company, so we don't disclose our product plans or our product roadmap, but we all are always working behind the scenes to expand and improve our product lines and keep them current with technologies. So I can't really say yes or no, but I can say that we are always looking to make things better. So I hope that satisfies you in the moment. Next question. Would the PGA 27 be the ideal microphone when you do a panel podcast? This person is recording 3 to 5 people in the same room and doesn't want to mic everyone. They love the MV8 for recording live concerts and shows, and the app is easy to use, but what do you think would be a good thing for a panel podcast where you don't want to mic everyone?
Oh, I think the PGA, the 27 would manage that. You'd have to possibly position people around the microphone in a different manner, so you don't want the central person to be the closest. You might have to sit them back a little bit. But does anyone else have any sort of info in terms of other microphones for that?
Not that I would know of.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ideal if you can, when you have multiple people. Your best case scenario is to get a microphone as close to each of those people in the room. That's going to give you definitely the best option. Maybe using an MV88 on a table, aimed at everyone, but at the end of the day, capturing a lot of voices in a room can be a little difficult. So you're probably going to have to experiment a little bit to come up with your best option.
Yeah, maybe try the MVL on everyone. I don't know, maybe they have their own phones. They could, I'm just thinking outside the box here, but they could download the audio app and then they could just airdrop the audio to you and they could just keep it on themselves. But that would require obviously more than one MVL. You'd need one for each, but they are quite affordable.
It would also require some editing too. So make sure that, you're up to speed and ready to do that as well. So, all right. Next question. Regarding the MV88, what is the furthest distance you can record from it without losing sound quality?
Oh, how long is a piece of string? It really depends what you're capturing. So if you are wanting to capture voices, then obviously you need them to be pretty close. But if you're doing field recording and sort of outdoors, for, I don't know, maybe remixing or sampling things, it really, really depends. And if you're in a live concert environment, you can be very far away from the PA because it's so loud. It should pick it up perfectly, but it really, really depends on the situation. So again, trial and error and understanding how to use the app to get the most out of your MV88.
Yeah, I always like to try and do sort of a mic test and really just kind of experiment because every situation is so unique. It depends on, like Mary said, what you're recording, the environment you're recording it in. There's a lot of factors and there's really no one size fits all. So yeah, it really just requires trial and error. Okay, next question. Does the MOTIV app retain gain settings once you exit it and go to a live stream via a non-Shure app?
It depends on the app. Cheryl, do you know that for sure? Do you think it?
For the most part, it shouldn't affect it. I believe that the only app that you can change gain on our products on would be either our MOTIV video or audio apps. I'm not familiar with any third-party apps that do control gain on our mics. They might exist. I'm just not personally familiar with them. But I will say that for the most part, you should be able to set it. It is designed so that you set the gain settings and any other additional settings in the app. And then once you close that app, those gain settings and all the other settings will retain on the MOTIV device until you go back in and change them yourself. So that's in theory how it's supposed to work. If you're having any issues with that, or if you notice something different, please send us an email at support@shure.com, and our support applications engineers support people can help sort of figure out what's going on there, and maybe help you troubleshoot the issues. But technically, no, it should not. Only the MOTIV app should change the gain settings of the MOTIV mics. So, all right. Next question is actually one for me. Lots of great info. Will there be a transcript of the audio available later? We do not release transcripts of our of our webinars. However, there will be a recorded version available. It'll be available in about a week or two, and you'll be able to find it at shure.com/training along with all of our other past webinar archives. Okay, next question. Where is the best placement for a lav mic?
Ooh, okay. So it again depends on the person, but really you want it, I would say maybe like a hand width down from your chin. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that, but I like to have it just below my collar. You need to be wary of if someone has their hair down, that their hair doesn't brush over it. So it might need to be a little bit lower. But yeah.
I guess any jewelry, any necklaces or anything like that.
Be very wary of jewelry too. That can really annoy. I've watched so many live
So have I.
interviews that happen.
Or a lanyard. If you're at a trade show and you're interviewing someone at a trade show, and they're wearing a lanyard with the the exhibitor badge or whatever, the guest badge, and you see that lanyard rub across that lav mic and you just think, oh, that's going to sound terrible when they listen to that.
Absolutely. If they're wearing a shirt, that's a lot easier to clip it onto, but otherwise you might have to pinch some of the material together and then clip it on. But just maybe sort of below your collarbone, maybe by a few inches. But again, maybe trial and error it a little bit, depending on the person too.
Great. Next question. Are the MOTIV products a good solution for voiceover artists attempting to record broadcast quality while traveling away from a home studio?
Absolutely. Yes. I would say so.
Yes. Yes, I would agree.
They provide such amazing quality. I've done comparisons of our Shure range of microphones, and they really all are extraordinary. So the MV88 in particular, MV5, MV51 are very portable. You can just throw them in your suitcase and you can record anywhere, as long as the environment helps you out a bit. So try and find a quiet hotel room.
Another cool tip that I heard from a voiceover person that was using our products is if they are in a hotel room that maybe is a little noisier or they're having trouble with room reflections, they said what they do is they go to a closet where they maybe have hung up some coats and some clothes and kind of push those coats and clothes apart, set up your mic in there. And they said that's a really good way to kind of have an ad hoc portable voiceover studio. So fun little tip there. Isn't that a great idea? Let your clothes do the work for you. Yes. All right. Next question. One of the people I record with is a very quiet person, but also makes a lot of mouth noises when they talk. Any tips for getting them to stay in that audio sweet spot?
Oh, that is probably the hardest thing to deal with, rather than someone being too loud. If they're very quiet, I would say keep them still relatively far away from. I think it's better to remove the awkward sounds and then maybe raise the audio up a bit later, maybe in post-production, but it might require some editing. Cheryl, do you have any tips for that?
Ooh, that's a real tough one. I think there's so many factors involved. Once again, environment. I think you're right that maybe have them farther away and see if you can. But if you are in a less than ideal recording environment, that's not necessarily going to work out for you. But I think maybe just setting them up and just trying to remind them, especially if they are a noisy, very guilty plosive kind of person. I know I am very guilty of plosives. Across the microphone, to just make sure that they kind of speak across the microphone, and just talk to as Mary pointed out in an earlier slide, with a little bit of extra and just talk to them, and hopefully with a little bit of extra coaching, you can get it where you need it to be.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to bring up in conversation, saying that person might have some habits that don't provide very good audio sort of listening. You might have to give them some pointers.
Yes. All right. So this next question is a little off topic, but we have a little bit of time left. And since we have Mary on the line, who is an expert about what we're talking about, but also would be kind of an expert about this. I figure I might as well ask it. This person says, I would like to know which microphone is suggested for an electric guitar. Currently using the Shure SM57 and keeping it in the middle of the amp. Any suggestions there, Mary?
So, you can use so many different things. I use the SM7B. And yeah, it really depends. Obviously, that you can use condensers, you can use dynamics. There are so many different ways to change the sound of the guitar amp by just moving it around the cone too. So do experiment, but the SM57 is a great microphone to choose. It's so versatile, and yeah, I sort of think you've kind of got the affordable option there, but if you want to try something a little bit more expensive, then maybe go for the SM7B.
Fantastic. All right, great. Well, that wraps up all the questions. I want to thank you both, Mary and Sam, for your time today. I hope everybody on the line learned a little something. I know I sure did. And we hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.